have a plenary session, and this plenary session is titled Anchored in Hope, a Catholic Vision from Rerum Novarum to the Digital Age, which is actually our conference theme for this year. And our resource person hopes to temper these challenges in the context of relevant Catholic social teachings. Brothers and sisters, help me welcome the head of the Episcopal Commission on Family and Life of the Archdiocese of Manila, the spiritual advisor of the Couples for Christ, and resident formator and dean of the studies of the Graduate School of Theology in San Carlos Seminary. Let's all give a hand for Reverend Father Joel O. Hasson.
Good afternoon to everyone. Okay, hindi ko kayo nakikita. Nandiyan pa ba kayo? Okay, so were you blessed this morning by the many breakout sessions? So, ang gagawin po natin ngayong hapong ito is we will try to knit them together. Tatahiin natin sama-sama yung lahat. This address given by Pope Leo XIV, his first address to the College of Cardinals after his election. Ang sabi ni Pope Leo, sensing myself called to continue in the same path, I chose to take the name Leo XIV. There are many reasons for this, but mainly because of Pope Leo XIII in his historic encyclical Rerum Novarum. Ano ba, Father, ang ibig sabihin ng Rerum Novarum? Ang ibig sabihin po nun is of new things, ang mga bagong bagay. Because during the time of Pope Leo XIII, his pontificate was from 1878 to 1903. O ilang taon yon? Yung mga magaling mag-math dyan. 25 years, no? So actually, isa siya sa mga pinakamahabang pontificate, no? John Paul II, I think, was something like 26 years. So Pope Leo XIII was 25 years, no? And then he reigned during the time of the Industrial Revolution. Sino po dito ang buhay na ng Industrial Revolution? No? The Industrial Revolution technically happened at the later part of the 1800s to the early part of the 1900s. Pag sinabi po nating Industrial Revolution, this is the time when machines began to be invented. Before the Industrial Revolution, ang lahat ay kinukuha lamang through agrarian process. Aani lang ang mga tao noon mula sa mga lupa. Everything was done manually. But at the later part of the 18th century, machines began to be invented. At ito yung tinatawag nating Industrial Revolution. Now, when the Industrial Revolution came out, nagkaroon ng challenge sa mga tao. There are many challenges that it brought about to the world. No? At ang sabi ni Pope Leo XIV, these are the challenges that Pope Leo XIII faced when he issued his historic encyclical Rerum Novarum. Okay? Now, let me continue. Ang sabi po niya, in our own day, the Church continues to offer everyone the treasury of her social teaching in response to another industrial revolution and to the developments in the field of artificial intelligence. So si Pope Leo XIV mismo ang nagsabi na if Leo XIII faced the industrial revolution, ang sabi ni Pope Leo XIV, ang nakikita niyang haharapin natin ngayon ay ang digital revolution. And in particular, artificial intelligence. Kaya pinangalanan niya yung kanyang sarili as Pope Leo XIV. And then he says, the defense of human dignity, justice, and labor will be paramount in his papacy. At kaya naman nung marinig namin iyon, during the first address of Pope Leo XIV, sabi ko, let us align ourselves to the vision of our new Holy Father. Kaya ito po yung ating pinag-uusapan sa araw na ito. Now, bakit po hope? Bakit anchored in hope? Because we should not see hope in isolation from the other theological virtues. Ano po ba yung ibang theological virtues? Faith, hope, and love or charity. Ano po yung pagkakaiba ng tatlong yan? Siguro, to give us an imagery, kung ikaw ay nakasakay sa isang barko o isang bangka, madilim ang paligid, ikaw ay dinadala ng malaking alon at malakas na bagyo, it is fate that will allow you to go out into the deep. It is fate that will bring you to go out into the middle of the sea. Pananampalataya ang magtutulak sa iyo para pumalaot. Now, what is it that will enable you to stay there? No? So if it is faith that enables you to launch into the open sea, it will be hope that will anchor you amidst the storms and the waves that you will encounter. Pag ikaw kasi ipumalaot, pwede kang makaranas ng malakas na hangin at malaking mga alon. What will allow you to be steady? What will anchor you? It is hope. Yung pag-asa. Siya yung magpapanatili sa yung stable, kahit na ang paligid mo ay parang ang gulo-gulo. And then, love. Love or charity is the one that will give you the generosity to keep on giving despite the many challenges. Mahalaga po yung pag-asa. Kasi kapag walang pag-asa, kapag nakaranas ka na ng alon at bagyo, babalik ka na. Babalik ka na. At hindi ka na magbibigay. Now, if you remember that imagery, the time that we are living in right now with the digital revolution, parang marami tayong mga alon at bagyong kakaharapin. Siguro if you listened well kanina, yung sa iba't ibang mga breakout sessions natin, we talk about AI in relation to business, AI in relation to education, AI in relation to family and parenting, and then AI in relation to mental health. Kanina po, naglalakad-lakad ako, tinignan ko yung lahat ng mga sessions. Ang nakita kong pinakamaraming inattendan ay yung dun sa mental health. Sabi ko, marami na talaga ang may sayad ngayon. Hindi, biro lang po, hindi, Ibig sabihin, it is really something that we should take in seriously. No? Because the digital revolution is something that really challenges our mental health. No? At bakit kailangan natin ng pag-asa? Dahil kapag nawalan ka ng pag-asa, the challenges of the digital revolution literally will obliterate humanity. Alam niyo, sa Tagalog, lagi nating naririnig, habang may buhay, may pag-asa. Pero mali po yun. Ang totoo, habang may pag-asa, may buhay. Bakit? Kasi marami mga tao, buhay pa, pero nawala na ng pag-asa. Di po ba? Bakit marami tayong mga cases of suicides nowadays? Nakakalungkot man at nakakatakot man tingnan. Buhay pa tayo, nilisan na tayo ng pag-asa. But if you have hope, as I said a while ago, hope it is that will anchor you amidst the storms and the waves of life. And love it is that will encourage you to continue giving, okay, despite all the challenges. Okay? So, that is a short introduction in terms of the meaning of our conference title. Now, ang tanong natin ngayon, what was the Industrial Revolution? Ano ba yung Industrial Revolution na yan, Father? The Industrial Revolution was a period of major economic, technological, and social change that began in Britain in the late 18th century and spread across the world in the 19th century. It marked the transition from handmade goods to agrarian economies to machine-based and manufacturing and factory production. New inventions like the steam engine, spinning jenny, and the power loom transformed industries. This revolution led to rapid urbanization, social change, and the new economic systems shaping the modern industrial world. So nagbago ang mundo nung nagsimulang ma-invento yung mga iba't ibang mga machineries. At maraming nangyari sa mundo noon. Sino sa inyo ang pamilyar doon sa musical na Les Miserables? Les Miserables, no? The background of Les Miserables was the Industrial Revolution. Yung mga mahihirap noon nagrevolusyon because of the Industrial Revolution dahil sa mga challenges na kinaharap nila. No? Di ba? Kaya nga kumakanta pa sila. Alam niyo yung kantang, "Do you hear the people sing?" No? Yan yung kanilang ipinaglalaban. Dahil nung nagsimulang maglabasan yung mga machines, nawala na yung mga tao. Now, hindi naman natin minamasama ang Industrial Revolution. Ano? In Rerum Novarum, Pope Leo XIII said that there are many blessings that the Industrial Revolution brought about. No? So these are the boons, no, of the Industrial Revolution. Ano yun? Number one, the mass production of goods. Siyempre, kapag meron ng makina, mas marami kang mapoproduce. Mas mabilis ang production. The rapidification of communication and transportation. Nung nakapag-imbento na sila ng mga relays ng tren, ayan, no, nakonekta na ang iba't ibang mga isla, nakapaggawa na ng mga bridges, so communication and transportation became more rapid. And then, scientific progress. And then number 4, syempre, kung merong mga machines, maraming job opportunities, and then there will be urban growth. So these are the blessings of the Industrial Revolution. Now, what are the banes of the Industrial Revolution? Number 1, ang sabi ng Rerum Novarum, the exploitation of laborers. Na-exploit ang mga laborers. Bakit? Kasi dahil nga sa daming demand ng production, yung mga laborers noon talagang pinagtatrabaho ng pinagtatrabaho. Akala nila ang tao noon parang makina na rin. And so human persons began to be looked upon also like machines. And therefore there was abuse of workers. There were long hours of labor. At ito yung napuna ng Rerum Novarum. Number 6, and number 2, poor living conditions in overcrowded urban slums. Dahil nga nagkaroon ng growth in urbanization, lahat ng mga tao ngayon nagpunta sa syudad. And because of that, nagkaroon ng overpopulation, nagkaroon ng congestion, and therefore, poor living conditions and overcrowdedness in urban locations. Nagkaroon din ng exploitation of the environment. Siyempre, dahil marami ng mga makina, nagkaroon na ng pinuputol ang lahat ng mga puno, mining, minamine ang lahat ng mga bundok. So, ang kalikasan noon, unti-unti ring nasisira. And then, of course, social inequality. Bakit nagkaroon ng social inequality? The rich became richer and the poor became poorer. Kasi yung mga kapitalista noon, sila lang ang yumayaman because of the Industrial Revolution. And then yung mga laborers, they work very hard, but they are paid very poorly. So yung gap between the rich and the poor became larger and larger. And therefore, there was inequality among the poor and the rich. So yan naman po yung mga limitations of the Industrial Revolution. Now, who was Leo XIII? Leo XIII was considered to be one of the modern popes. He reigned during 1878 until 1903. No? He was born Vincenzo Gioacchino Pecci in 1810, and he served as the head of the Roman Catholic Church from 1878 until his death in 1903. By the way, si Pope Leo XIII was one of the first famous persons caught on film. Kasi po yung movie camera, it was invented in the late 1800s also. At si Pope Leo XIII ang isa sa mga unang famous people na kinunan ng moving camera. Kung gusto niyo makita, punta po kayo sa YouTube. Lagay ninyo Pope Leo XIII caught on camera. Makikita niyo doon. Siya yung isa sa mga unang taong nakunan na gumagalaw sa camera. Nakaupo siya sa bangko, nagbibigay ng blessing. No? Parang ginamit siya nung mga nakaimbento ng moving camera. Okay? And then, he was one of the first modern popes to address the challenge imposed by the Industrial Revolution, beside the new emerging ideas of socialism and secularism. So besides the Industrial Revolution, nandoon na rin yung pagtaas ng socialism, Marxism, and then of course, secularism. Anong ibig sabihin ng secularism? Yung mundong unti-unti nang inaalis ang impluensya ng Diyos sa lipunan. Dahil nga nakikita nila yung advance of the science, ang sabi nila, ay, science na lang ang ating Diyosin. Hindi na natin kailangan ang Panginoon. And so, it brought about a certain wave of secularism. And then what else? He issued the encyclical Rerum Novarum in 1891 as a response to the Industrial Revolution. Okay? Now, what are the essential themes and trajectories of Rerum Novarum? Ano yung ipinaglaban ng Rerum Novarum? Kung kayo ay mga laborer, kung kayo ay may trabaho, Rerum Novarum ang dapat nating pasalamatan. Bakit? Because of Rerum Novarum, nagkaroon tayo ng mga karapatang ito. Number 1, the rights and the dignity of workers. It was in Rerum Novarum that it was first legislated and proposed to the world, and then ultimately it became part of the rights of all laborers in the world. The notion of just wages, yung tamang sweldo. Kasi noon, bahala na yung employer at yung employee mag-usap. Wages were simply determined by social contract. Bahala na kayo mag-usap kung ano yung napagkasunduan. But because of Rerum Novarum, nagkaroon ng systematic determination of what constitutes a just wage. No? Kaya kung meron tayong minimum wage ngayon, it is because of Rerum Novarum. The right to form labor unions. Yung karapatan ng mga laborers na mag-organisa ng pagpupulong para ipaglaban ang kanilang karapatan. It was also because of Rerum Novarum. And then, the responsibility of employers and governments towards the poor. That is part of the theme given by Rerum Novarum. Now, because of Rerum Novarum, this brought forth a follow-up of many encyclicals that we can call the social doctrine of the church. It is truly a trailblazer because Rerum Novarum offered a moral and balanced solution to modern society's challenges and laid the foundation to a later body of teachings that we now call the social encyclicals. Now later on, kinikilala na natin ito as CST, or Catholic Social Thought. Before, when I was a seminarian, naalala ko, ang tawag namin dito, Catholic Social Teaching. Pero ngayon, binago na. It is now called Catholic Social Thought. Bakit? Kasi pag sinabi daw nating Catholic Social Teaching, parang nandito lang. Katuruan lang. Pero kapag sinabi nating Catholic social thought, it is a worldview. It is how you think about reality and how you think about the world. So this body of encyclicals will give us a worldview on how to look at reality and the world. And because of Rerum Novarum, maraming mga encyclical ang sumunod. For example, Pius XI, Quadragesimo Anno, which came out in the year 1931. Ano po, Father, ang ibig sabihin ng Quadragesimo Anno? 40 years. And if you notice, it was in 1931. Dahil kailan lumabas ang Rerum Novarum? 1891. So on the 40th anniversary of Rerum Novarum, inilabas ni Pius XI ang Quadragesimo Anno. And then after that, John the 23rd, Mater et Magistra, which came out in the year 1961. And then John Paul II came out with 2 social encyclicals. Yung una, Laborem Exercens. Ang ibig sabihin po ng Laborem Exercens, the exercise of labor. The exercise of labor. It came out in 1981. And then, Centesimus Annus. Ang ibig sabihin nun, 100 years. Now, bakit 100 years? Because it was written on the 100th anniversary of Rerum Novarum, which came out in 1891, and then yung Centesimus Annus is 1991. So ito yung mga later social encyclicals that were inspired by Rerum Novarum. Okay? Now, ang tanong, Father, what is Catholic social thought? Catholic social thought is nothing else but a body of social teachings that remind us that the gospel should speak to the world. Pag sinabi natin Catholic social thought, pinapaalala sa atin na dapat yung ebanghelyo, yung salita ng Diyos, ay merong kabuluhan sa lipunan. Hindi natin pwedeng paghiwalayin ang simbahan at ang lipunan. That is why we call it Catholic social thought. That when we look at the world, we should look at it with a Catholic worldview. Now, when we say Catholic worldview, it doesn't only mean the Catholic religion. When we say Catholic worldview, it means we look at the world primarily from the power of the Word of God. Alam niyo, when you look at the Word of God, sinasabi doon, you cannot serve both God and mammon. Akala natin, yung mundo divided into two. God and mammon. Nandito yung Diyos, nandito yung mammon. Ano ba yung mammon? Walang kinalaman yan sa Goldilocks, no? Hindi yan mammon, no? Mammon is a Greek word for money. No, so mammon is a symbol for secularism. No? Kaya nga, di ba, nagkaroon din tayo ng tinatawag na separation of church and state. Pero meron tayong dapat maunawaan according to the Catholic social thought. It doesn't mean that the world is divided into two, wherein this is only the domain of God and this is the domain of the world. Hindi. Ang sinasabi ng Catholic social thought that God should influence everything in the world. Lahat ng bagay sa mundo dapat na i-impluwensyahan ng salita ng Diyos. Kaya hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na dapat ang simbahan hindi nagsasalita tungkol sa politika. And then sasabihin natin, di ba, Father, may separation of church and state? Mali po iyon. Dahil ang ibig sabihin po ng separation of church and state, the state should not inhibit the church from practicing her proper mandate. Ganun ang ibig sabihin ng separation of church and state. Hindi po ibig sabihin nun na dito lang ang kapangyarihan ng Diyos at dito ang kapangyarihan ng gobyerno. Hindi. Ang sinasabi po ng principle na iyon, hindi dapat gamitin ng gobyerno ang kanyang kapangyarihan para pigilan ang simbahan sa pagpapalaganap ng Ebanghelyo. Why? Because everything in the world and everyone in the world is under the power and influence of the Word of God. So yan po ang ibig sabihin ng Catholic social thought. A Catholic worldview imbued by the power of God's Word. Okay? Kaya nga ngayon, di ba, meron tayong nararanasan sa ating politika. Meron ngayong mga investigation about mga flood control, corruption. Bakit po nangyayari yan? Kasi nga inihiwalay natin ang Ebanghelyo sa politika. No? Pero kung hahayaan natin ang Ebanghelyo na magsalita kahit sa politika, then politics will become even the domain of God. And so when we misunderstand separation of church and state, anong magiging resulta niyan? Corruption. Ang simbahan, dyan lang kayo, panglinggo lang kayo. No? Pero the rest of the week, amin ang mundo. At minsan ganun tayong mga Katolikong mag-isip. Katoliko lang tayo pag linggo. Pero Monday to Saturday, hindi na natin malaman kung ano tayo. Hindi ba nakakahiya itong mga iniimbestigahan natin sa flood control controversy? Halos lahat sila graduate ng Catholic schools. Hindi ko nasasabihin kung anong school. Dahil nakakahiya. Yung isa nga doon, ex-seminarian pa. O hindi ba nakakahiya yon? Now, what is that telling us? The gospel doesn't seem to influence our politics. Parang yung salita ng Diyos, wala yatang impluensya sa ating politika. Kaya nga meron tayong Catholic social thought, sinasabi ng mga Santo Papa, dapat kung ano tayo ng linggo, it will influence the rest of the week. Because that is our worldview. We look at the world simply from the eyes of the Word of God. Okay? Now, what are the principles of the Catholic social thought? No? 5 po ito. Number 1, the common good. No? The issue of the common good. Father, what is the common good? The common good is not the greater good for the majority. Akala natin pag narinig natin yung common good, yan yung kung ano yung gusto ng majority. Wrong. The common good is simply the interpenetration of all those goods that will allow full human flourishing. Hindi yan yung kung ano yung gusto ng majority. Ang ibig sabihin, ito yung mga different social conditions that will allow full human flourishing. At minsan, the common good will challenge even the majority. Even, sometimes, the common good will even challenge kung ano yung iniisip ng mas nakararami. Dito natin makikita kung ano yung pagkakaiba ng conformity with morality. What is conformity? Conformity is doing what is ignoring the right. No? Conformity is doing what everybody does in spite of what is right. That is conformity. What is morality? Morality is doing what is right despite of what everybody wants. No? So nakita niyo yung pagkakaiba? The common good is sometimes challenging the common mentality. Why? Because we want to maintain those conditions that will allow full human flourishing. Yun po yung common good. Pangalawa, solidarity and subsidiarity. What is solidarity? Pag nagsama-sama tayo, solidarity. Hindi rin. Kasi pwedeng magsama-sama ang mga masasamang tao. Diba? Hindi yan unity. Kaya nga, diba, meron tayong tinatawag na unitives. No? Nung magsama-sama yung magdanakaw, ayan ang mga unitives. Ayan, ano? Hindi yan solidarity. No? Solidarity is acknowledging that all of us are children of God and that all of us emerge from one Creator. And because all of us emerge from one Creator, all of us are brothers and sisters in God. Yan po ang ibig sabihin ng solidarity. So solidarity is telling us, anuman ang kulay mo, anuman ang lahi mo, anuman ang iyong kultura, we are all brothers and sisters in the one God. That is the notion of solidarity. And therefore, there should never be discrimination among the children of God. Solidarity. Now, ano naman po yung subsidiarity? Subsidiarity is acknowledging the power of little associations. No? Kumbaga, ipinapakita natin na kahit na maliit lamang ang pagtitipon ng mga tao, may kapangyarihan yan to decide for themselves. Hindi kailangang pupunta ka agad dun sa pinakamataas. Halimbawa, may problema kayo sa inyong lipunan, sa inyong barangay, merong pundidong ilaw. Hindi ka agad magrereklamo sa presidente ng Pilipinas. No? Pupunta ka muna sa iyong barangay captain. No? Kumbaga, everything must be settled among the local community before you go to the bigger community. Yan yung subsidiarity na tinatawag. That there is power given to the smallest sector of society because we recognize that power does not belong only to the majority but also to the minority. No? It is only when the minority can no longer handle things that we go up and up and up. No? So pataas ng pataas ng pataas. Pero hanggat maaari, we begin with the smallest sector. No? So yan po yung principle of subsidiarity. Number 3, justice and the universal destination of goods. Ang sinasabi ng Catholic social thought, pwede ba tayong magkaroon ng private property? Yes. Private property is legitimate. We can own private property. But whenever we own private property, it must always be within the vantage point of the universal destination of goods. Ibig sabihin, yung akin palang private property, hindi lang sa akin. Dapat pala iniisip ko, paano ba ako magiging blessing to others? So, ibig sabihin, my private property has an intrinsic social destination. Hindi lamang ito para sa akin. Dapat laging meron tayong iniisip na merong social destination in what we call charity to other people. No? Kaya in the Catholic understanding, charity is one of yung tawag natin yung tatlong paa, no? Especially during the Lenten season, di ba? Yung almsgiving, prayer, and fasting, no? So almsgiving is part of our charitable works because all our properties must be destined for the common good. Number 4, the notion of sin. No? So pinapaalala din na we live in a broken world. And we are also broken people. We are not perfect people. And therefore, sin exists. No? So, tayong mga Kristiyano, we do not live in a utopian world na everything is perfect. Hindi. We recognize the reality of sin because we live in a broken world. But because there is the reality of sin, we also hold on to the reality of grace. Because as the Word of God says, where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. No? So, the notion of sin. And then, huling-huli, human dignity. Man as imago Dei. Man as the image of God. No? So, man is not only a part of the animal kingdom. Man is the apex of God's creation. So, all these 5 principles comprise the key principles of Catholic social thought. At ang pinakamahalaga po dyan is number 5, the notion of human dignity. Whenever we confront technology, and now the digital revolution, it must always be at the service of human dignity. Kaya let us investigate all the more what constitutes our human dignity. Okay? Again, isa-isahin natin. Pag sinabi nating human dignity, that means you and I, number 1, we are open and relational. We are open and relational. Bakit open and relational? We are created to be in socialization with one another. Hindi tayo nilikha para mag-isa. Genesis 2:18, ano po ang sabi doon? It is not good that man should be alone. And therefore, all of us are created to become social beings. Kaya nga makikita ninyo, no, consistent in the teaching of Christ is that everybody should be considered as neighbor. Diba? Do you remember the parable of the Good Samaritan? In the time of the Lord, in the time of Jesus, neighbor was only yung kapitbahay ko. Neighbor was only yung kadugo ko. Neighbor was only yung katribo ko. But with the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus said, every person is to be considered as neighbor. Okay? So, by nature, we are open and relational. Okay? So, part po ng ating nature yan. Number 2, we are conscious beings. Ano pong ibig sabihin ng conscious being? Meron tayong kamalayan. We have consciousness. We are conscious. No? By the way, tingnan nyo nga po yung katabi nyo ngayon. Baka unconscious na. No? Ha? Baka unconscious na, ha? No? Tatanungin ko nga pala kayo, kapag ang isang tao ay naging unconscious, anong dapat mong gawin? Para mabuhay uli? Tapikin? Hindi. Sakalin, sabi niya, sakalin na. Hindi. Titigan mo lang. Mako-conscious yan. And hindi ganun lang ibig sabihin ng conscious, ha? Pag sinabi natin conscious, hindi yan yung mahilig kang, gusto mong tinitingnan ng sarili mo. Hindi. Consciousness means we are self-aware. We are aware of who we are. Pagtatanungin ko po kayo, do animals have consciousness? Yes, they do. But they don't have, yung kanilang consciousness is only relative. No? Kasi conscious sila in a sense that they are alive. Pero hindi naman nila kilala ang sarili nila eh. Tingnan mo yung aso kapag nakaharap sa salamin, anong ginagawa? Kinakahulan niya yung kanyang sariling larawan, di ba? Why? Because he does not recognize na, oh, that's me. Eh ikaw, kapag napaharap ka sa salamin, anong gagawin mo? Retouch ka kagad, no? Papaganda ka kagad. Kasi nga, very conscious tayo, no? Pero what we mean here is we have the capacity to reflect on ourselves. What does it mean to become a human person? We have that capacity. Ngayon, yung ginagawa natin ngayon, what are we doing? We are reflecting on what it means to become a human person. That means we are conscious beings. And that is because we are created in the image and likeness of God. Number 3, embodied spirit. Tayong mga tao, we are composed of 2 parts, body and spirit. At hindi po yan magkahiwalay, no? They are together, no? Embodied spirit, no? Yung aking katawan, hindi yan kaaway ng espiritu. Because my body is the sacrament of who I am inside. No? So that is part of our Christian anthropology and dignity. Pang-apat, we are historical reality. Anong ibig sabihin yan? It doesn't mean that you were born in time. Hindi ganun ang ibig sabihin ng history. Ang ibig sabihin ng historical is we have the power to change and chart our history. No? May kakayahan tayong baguhin yung ating kasaysayan. Why? Because we are not passive actors in the world. We are created with intelligence, with power, with creativity, and therefore we can change the world, no? Kaya nga, di ba, when you look at the book of Genesis, anong sabi ng Diyos? Go forth, fill the earth and subdue it. Baguhin ninyo ang mundo, pagandahin ninyo ang mundo. Why? Because in the image and likeness of God, we have the power to be creative. Ganun lang ibig sabihin lang, we are historical beings. We can change and chart our own history. And then lastly, we are unique, but we are fundamentally equal. No one among us here are the same. Magkakaiba tayo. No? It's, you know, it's one of the most mind-boggling reality in the world, no? Na there are billions of people in the world, and yet not 2 thumb marks are the same. No? Magkakaiba yung ating mga thumb marks. Ibig sabihin talagang lahat tayo unique. Hindi na tayo mauulit. No? Yang katabi mo ngayon, sabihin mo sa kanya, hindi ka na mauulit. Salamat sa Diyos. No? Nag-iisa ka lang. No? And yet, even though we are unique, we are fundamentally equal. Bagamat tayo ay magkakaiba, tayo ay pantay-pantay ng dignidad. No? In biblical language, we call it in the image of the body of Christ. Kasi when you look at the body, each part of the body is unique. And yet, all the different parts of our body are contributing to the overall health of the individual. At pare-pareho ang dignidad ng bawat bahagi ng ating katawan. Okay? So these are the contents of human dignity. Alright? So, okay pa po ba kayo? Alright. Now, I can begin with, after that introduction. Okay. Hindi, malapit na po ako matapos. Antiqua et nova, no? This is the second part, no? I think Dr. Det already mentioned this briefly in her introductory address, no? Antiqua et nova is a document written during the time of Pope Francis. Kasi ito yung the note on the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Ang title po ng document is Antiqua et nova. Later on, Google the document, you can read it in full. Okay? Now, what What is this Antigua et Nova document? It was approved by Pope Francis on January 14, 2025, and then published on January 28, 2025. Ang ibig sabihin po nito ay ancient and new. Bago at luma. No? Luma at bago. No? So, ano ang laman ng document? What are the goals of Antigua et Nova? Number one, it wants to propose an anthropological, ethical, and theological implication on the advent of AI. So ano daw yung dapat tingnan natin sa tao, no? Who is the human person? Paano siya dapat kumilos? At ano ang relationship nito sa Diyos, no? Pagdating ng AI, no? Ethical, anthropological, theological. And then secondly, what are the possible impacts of AI on our work, economy, healthcare, human relations, and the environment? And then number three, it will offer moral guideposts on how AI should serve the human person and the common good. Kaya anchor eh. Kasi kapag nalaman natin ito ngayon yung magbibigay ng anchor sa atin. Kasi yung AI at yung digital revolution, pwede tayo nitong dalhin kung saan-saang direksyon, iba't ibang direksyon. But if we are grounded on these key principles, it will keep us steady and anchored. Okay? Now, what are the key themes of Antigua et Nova? I will give you 5 major quotations. Number 1, the relationship between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. You can read that in number 33 of Antigua et Nova. I will give you the more important part. Sabi dito, since AI lacks the richness of corporeality, relationality, and the openness of the human heart to truth and goodness, its capacities, though seemingly limitless, are incomparable with human ability to grasp reality. Now, both artificial intelligence and human intelligence can grasp reality. Pero anong pagkakaiba? Artificial intelligence can grasp physical reality. Human intelligence can grasp metaphysical reality. Ayan, ano? So yung science and artificial intelligence, they can only grasp physical reality, yung observable reality. Pero yung human intelligence, real human intelligence, can grasp metaphysical reality. May nakikita ang human intelligence na hindi pwedeng makita ng artificial intelligence. At dito natin makikita yung pagkakaiba ng artificial and human intelligence. For example, nagpatingin ka sa isang doktor. Tiningnan ng doktor yung mata mo. Ophthalmologist. Anong makikita ng ophthalmologist sa mata mo? Siguro makikita niya, may muta ka. Pahirin mo muna, no? Makikita niya yung iyong eyelids, makikita niya yung mga veins, makikita niya yung mga, ano pa ba yung mga parts of the eyes, yung iris and different parts. Yun ang makikita ng ophthalmologist. Pero kapag ang tumingin ng mata mo ay, for example, yung husband mo, tiningnan ka nung loved ones mo, tiningnan niya yung mata mo, anong makikita ng iyong loved ones? In your eyes, I can see my dreams' reflections. Ayun, I can see my dreams' reflections. Found the answer to my questions. No? So, kapag tiningnan niya ng isang taong nagmamahal sa'yo, hindi lang niya nakikita yung physical reality. Meron siyang nakikita beyond the physical reality. Do you see the difference? No? So yan yung pagkakaiba ng artificial intelligence sa human intelligence. Artificial intelligence can only calculate visible reality. But human intelligence goes beyond the physical. It can see the metaphysical. Okay? So yun yung sinasabi ng Antigua et Nova. Number 2, okay? Is AI really intelligence? So sabi ng Antigua et Nova, AI should not be seen as an artificial form of human intelligence, but only as a product of it. Ayon. Kasi minsan pwede nating isipin, ay, ang galing-galing ng AI, ano? Mukhang mas matalino pa talaga sa tao. Actually, hindi. Because AI is only a product of human intelligence. Okay? Artificial intelligence can only mimic human intelligence. Artificial intelligence can only imitate human intelligence. Okay? Pero ang sabi ng Antigua et Nova, as it imitates human intelligence, it should also facilitate human intelligence. Kasi ang pwedeng mangyari, AI will obliterate human intelligence. Pwede na niyang palitan ang human intelligence. Hindi raw dapat ganoon ang mangyari. Dapat tutulungan lang ng artificial intelligence ang human intelligence. Dahil yung artificial intelligence, hindi naman talaga tunay na intelligence yan eh. No? Wala namang morality ang machines. No? Kaya yung AI, hindi pwedeng maging human counselor. Alam nyo ba na ngayon, meron ng mga nagsusulong na magkaroon na tayo ng mga artificial counselors. No? Ng mga guidance counselors ngayon, AI na. Ang kakausapin nyo na AI. No? Meron nga akong nakita, sinasabi, pwede bang ang mangungumpisal na lang din AI? No? 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 Biro mo, mangungumpisal ka ngayon, AI na lang ang kausap mo. Paano mong malalaman? Baka yung kausap mo baka yung kinukumpisal mo naka-record, no? And then pagkatapos yan, ibo-broadcast na sa kinabukasan, ano? You never know. And then of course, there are many things that a human confessor and counselor can see that artificial intelligence cannot. I'll give you an example. For example, one time when I was a guidance counselor in a school, may dinala sa aking bata. She was caught cheating in class. Now, maliwanag yung rules dun sa aming school. If a student is found cheating, automatically, she will be expelled. No? So, dinala sa akin ng teacher, sabi, Father, nandaya po ang batang ito sa exam. So, kinausap ko yung bata, sabi ko, oh, why did you cheat? Do you know that cheating is wrong? And then sabi ng bata, yes, Father. And then I said, why did you do it if you know it was wrong? You know what the child said? Sabi ng bata, because I want my papa to be proud of me. Oh, anong sinasabi nun? Anong sinasabi nun? Bakit ginawa ng bata yung pag-cheat? Hindi dahil sa masama yung bata. Yung bata was longing for something. And what was the child longing for? Parental affirmation. Siguro itong batang ito hindi napapansin ng kanyang mga magulang. O siguro itong batang ito laging naiko-compare doon sa kanyang mga kapatid. Bakit yung ate mo matalino, ikaw hindi? And so in her desire to be loved and to be noticed by her parents, anong ginawa niya? Nag-cheat siya. Now, if you are a human counselor, madedetect mo yan. Ay, hindi naman pala talaga masama itong batang ito, may hinahanap ang batang ito. Pero kapag AI ang kausap niyan, anong sasabihin ng AI? Okay, you did something wrong, you did something that violated the rules, and therefore you should be expelled. Kasi ang nakikita lang, what is visible and what is measurable. But it cannot see beyond the human heart. Kaya ang sabi ng Antigua et Nova, we should look at artificial intelligence not as something that will replace human intelligence, but simply as a product of it. And therefore, it is not really intelligence, but a product of human intelligence. Now, number 3, the good of AI must be in service of the human person. Sabi ng Antigua et Nova, number 112. This challenge is as true today as it was then, as the rapid pace of digitization risks a digital reductionism. AI should be used only as a tool to complement human intelligence rather than replace its richness. Ayan, ano? So, ano yung principle? Technology should assist but not replace the human person. Yan yung sinasabi ng Antiqua et Nova. It should only assist and not replace the human person. Because the moment it replaces the human person, then the human dignity is already compromised. So kanya, yun daw yung dapat nating ingatan. The technology, whatever form of technology it is, should only assist but not replace the human person. Now, mali ba, Father, ang AI simply because it is artificial? No. There are many things that are artificial that are good. For example, I can see many people wearing eyeglasses like me. This is artificial, pero wala namang mali dito. Why? Because it helps the human person. It does not replace the human person. No? Kapag meron kang pacemaker, for example, no, na tinutulungan yung puso mo to beat regularly, okay, that is good, even though it is artificial. Okay? Ang problema dito is kapag yung technology will now take over the human person in the sense na nababago na yung nature of the human person. For example, meron ngayong usapin na what if daw maglagay na tayo ng computer chip sa utak ng tao para hindi na tayo makakalimot ng mga bagay-bagay. Papayag ba kayo nun? Nalalagyan kayo ng computer chip. Now, if that is allowed, is that an instant of assisting or is it already replacing the human person? Replacing. No? Ibang bagay yung halimbawa, meron din mga scientists, no, injection na kaya natin ng bird DNA ang tao para baka tubuan siya ng pakpak para ang tao ay makalipad. No? Now, when you do that, you are already changing human nature. It's one thing to grow wings on a human person. It's another thing to put a person on a plane. Okay? Magkaiba yun, ano? So yung ikaw ay gumawa ng eroplano para ikaw ay makalipad, walang problema doon. Because it assists the human person, it does not replace human nature. Pero yung paglaruan mo yung human DNA, sasaksakan mo ng bird DNA para in the hope na baka magkaroon siya ng wings. Ginugulo na natin yung human nature. So it is no longer consistent with the principle of serving the human person. Okay? So yan yung sinasabi ng Antiqua et Nova. Number 4, the requirement of ethical responsibility. Sabi dito, it is important that ultimate responsibility for decisions made using AI rests with the human decision makers, and that there will be accountability for the use of AI at each stage of the decision-making process. Now, Antiqua et Nova is proposing that there should be a body that will regulate the use of AI, no? In the international level and then also in the local level. Dapat magkakaroon nun. Because without a regulating body, AI can bring us into many different directions. No? At talagang mawawalan tayo ng anchor. But if all these principles are clear, then maa-anchor natin at hindi tayo dadalhin kung saan-saang mga direksyon. Okay? So, the need for ethical responsibility. And then lastly, AI and human relationships. Sabi dito, authentic human relationships require the richness of being with others in their pain, their pleas, and their joy. Authentic and spontaneous encounters with others are indispensable for engaging with reality in its fullness. Ngayon, meron na mga usapin about building AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Para dun sa mga hindi raw makakita ng jowa, no? Gagawa na ng AI companions, no? Na they can always tell you what you want to hear, they will always be available, no? Ngayon marami ng mga chat groups na pag kinakausap mo, no, yung mga taong nalulungkot, no, they withdraw no, to the isolation of these chat boxes. Why? Because they have no one to talk to. Pero I think it is a tragic mistake. Why? Bakit ba tayo nalulungkot? Dahil nagkukulang na nga tayo ng authentic human relationships. And therefore, the solution is not to withdraw in the isolation of artificial relationship, but to go out and build real and healthy relationships. So pinapaalala sa atin, no, AI should not take the place of real face-to-face encounters. Yung nakita natin kanina, mga examples na binibigay sa atin, the dangers of yung mga deepfakes, no? Pwedeng meron kang kausap on the screen, hindi mo alam, hindi pala totoong tao yun. At pwede kang sagutin ng taong iyon, because it is programmed to respond to you in a human way. But it is not human, a real human interaction. And therefore, we need to be very critical. At lagi natin iniisip, hindi tayo dapat nagwi-withdraw in the isolation of our digital world. Because when we continue to do that, we will not flourish as human persons. Alam nyo, I was reading an article. Sabi nila, yung human evolution, nagmula tayo sa, di ba tayo ay tinatawag nila yung nakaganyan tayo, yung Homo curvatus. No? Ganyan tayo, mga monkeys. No? And then habang evolution daw, naging tayong Homo erectus. No? We become now erect. No? Sabi niya, ngayon daw bumabalik na tayo sa Homo curvatus. Dahil lagi na tayo nakaganyan sa ating mga cellphone. No? Ayan na, no? So yung evolution bumabalik na, full circle, no? No? From Homo curvatus, Homo erectus, ayan, Homo curvatus na naman tayo. Ano? So let us not allow this digital technology to devolve us. Instead, let us allow it to help us evolve and not devolve. Okay? So, last two slides that I would like to share with you. Father, masama ba ang technology? Not at all. Because in the Catholic social doctrines, we are being reminded that technology is good because technology is a product of human intelligence, which is a gift from God. Ang sabi ni Thomas Aquinas, God is only offended by the action of human beings only when they act against their own well-being. So yun pala yung ating key. Whatever technology is in front of us, our question is always, is this helping me to evolve as a full human being? Because if it does not, then God will be offended by that technology. But if that technology allows me for full human flourishing, then definitely it must be a go. Kailangan nating yakapin yan. No? And then lastly, Cardinal Ratzinger, later Pope Benedict XVI, ang sabi niya, what characterizes man as man is not that he asks about the can, but about the should. And that he opens himself to the voice and demands of the truth. Ang ganda nito. Kasi ang sinasabi ni Pope Benedict XVI, simple lang naman eh. Not because you can means you should. No? Not because you can means you should. So, dapat ganun yung ating tanong. Hindi nangangulugan na dahil kaya mong gawin yan, dapat mong gawin. And so we should always ask, even if I can do this, should I do this? Because that will determine that I am truly a man. Because only man is capable of perceiving meaning and purpose. So it is not a question of can, but it is always a question of should. And that is the Catholic social thought with regards the challenge of artificial intelligence. No? So thank you for listening. Okay. At this point, I think I was told that we can entertain some questions, maybe one or two questions, maybe. Kung meron po kayong mga katanungan at kung kaya kong sagutin, dahil kung hindi ko kayang sagutin, I will ask artificial intelligence. Okay, no? But I hope I was able to give you some principles that will anchor us amidst the many challenges brought about by this digital revolution that we are experiencing. No? So once more, thank you very much po sa inyo. No? So, meron po bang questions? We can give you the microphone if you want. No?
Good afternoon po, Father. May lumalabas po na article na nagsasabing AI will change what is to be human. It will prevent a crisis about what is to be a person. Ano po ang comment nyo dito? Sakayin po ba kayo na nagkakaroon tayo ng krisis tungkol sa kahulugan ng pagiging tao dahil sa AI?
Yeah, as I said a while ago, that is one of the real challenges of artificial intelligence, no? Because as artificial intelligence imitates human intelligence, it should not eradicate human intelligence, no? It should facilitate human intelligence, no? So yun yung ating guidepost. Yakapin natin ng artificial intelligence in the sense that it will facilitate human intelligence. Kumbaga, tutulungan pa tayong lalong lumago. But let us not make AI as a replacement in a sense na it will eradicate human intelligence. Ako po ay nagtuturo sa seminaryo, yan yung isa sa mga problema namin ngayon. No? Whenever I would require, for example, reflection papers from my students, hindi ko na alam kung sila talaga ang sumulat o AI. No? At kaya sinasabi ko sa kanila, my dear seminarians, no, as much as possible, try not to avoid AI. At ang lagi ko sinasabi sa kanila, hindi dahil sa masama ang AI, ang sabi ko sa kanila, prove to yourself first that you cannot live without AI, that you can live without AI, and when you can live without AI, then you can live with it. Do you see the principle? No? Parang cellphone yan eh, no? Paano mo masasabi na pwede kang magka-cellphone? Kapag masasabi mo sa sarili mong, I can live without a cellphone, then you can. Pwede ka nang magkaroon ng cellphone. Kapag sinasabi mong, I cannot live without a cellphone, ay huwag niyong bigyan ng cellphone. Bakit? Dahil kapag ganun ang iyong principle, that means lalamunin ka ng cellphone. It's the same with artificial intelligence. If you say, I cannot live without artificial intelligence, ay delikado yan. Lalamunin ka niyan. But if you can say, I can live without it, but I can use it if I want to, then pwede mo na siyang gamitin. No? So I think that should also be our approach with regards to artificial intelligence and whatever other digital improvements, no, digital revolutions that we will face in the near future. Okay?